Knowing which waterstone to buy can be a real task. Each manufacturer differs in their approach, offering different ranges with different qualities and even high degrees of variation between grits inside those ranges. We've put together this series of videos to share with you what sort of finish, scratch pattern, edge and wear to expect from each of our waterstones. Regardless of the brand or grit that you use or what you sharpen, all waterstones will need to be flattened to get the most out of them. Flat bevels demand flat stones. If you'd like more information on flattening waterstones, we've put together a separate video on that. The point here is that there is no waterstone that can be used for long periods of time without being flattened. Those stones' wear rates vary considerably. Waterstone's grit size is numbered by the manufacturer. The smaller the number, the coarser the stone. 320 stones are the coarsest that are generally used in woodworking. If you need a coarser stone than a 320, consider diamond plates. It's worth noting that the grit ratings of waterstones have nothing to do with sandpaper grit ratings and are much, much finer. Waterstone's grit ratings are not exactly uniform from manufacturer to manufacturer and are definitely not directly comparable to diamond plates' grit ratings. For example, expect a 400 diamond plate to be much coarser than a 400 waterstone. Waterstones can generally be divided into the categories of coarse, 800 grit stones and lower, medium, 1000 to 3000 grit stones, and fine, anything higher than a 3000 grit. Any waterstone with a numbered grit rating has been synthetically manufactured, and although there is plenty to learn even about man-made stones, natural waterstones are significantly more nuanced. We'll focus on the man-made stuff here. Tool edges are worked through the grits from coarse to fine. It's really important to set up the geometry of your blade, meaning the angle and flatness of your bevel, on a coarse stone before moving up the grits. If you can't get your geometry where you want to on a coarse stone, trying to do so on a finer stone will be an exercise in frustration. Each stone is simply refining the scratch patterns of the stone that's come before, and there are no hard and fast rules about the number of stones you need to use. In the higher grits, larger jumps in numbers are possible than in the lower grits. We would only go from a 400 to a 1000 down low, for example, but a jump from a 3000 to an 8000 is manageable up high. Using more stones with smaller jumps allows you to move through the grits quickly, with less time on each stone. The downside of this is the initial cost of buying more stones and needing to flatten and store a greater number of them. Using a smaller number of stones with larger jumps means a smaller initial expense, but requires more strokes and time as you move up the grits. We do have some suggestions on how to make each approach work, but these principles remain. All waterstones require water to be used as a lubricant and cutting medium. Only water. Oil has no place on Japanese waterstones and will clog the stone, or in the worst case scenario, destroy the binder. Speaking of which, all waterstones are made of two main components: an abrasive, which does the actual cutting, and a binder, which determines the wear rate of the stone. Although the grit is marked clearly on each stone, the wear rate is not and varies widely. In general, waterstone manufacturers have to find a compromise between using a hard binder that will keep the stone flatter for longer, or a soft binder that allows fresh, aggressive cutting grains to be revealed during the sharpening process. How different manufacturers manage this compromise is a large determining factor of the differences between the brands. Regardless of what waterstone brand or grit you use, take the time to run through each sharpening process thoughtfully and spend plenty of time observing your bevel to monitor your progress. If your first attempts don't yield the results you were hoping for, walk away, take a break, and have another go later. Sharpening freehand is a great way to learn, but don't be afraid to incorporate jigs into your sharpening practice. If you have any questions about sharpening using our stones, feel free to give us an email or a phone call. We're all too happy to talk sharpening. See you in the shop.